Faith, as we saw last week, is not just about believing that there is a God out there. Faith is not just the belief in the existence of God. That is not what faith is all about. Because even the devil himself believes that God exists. He believes and trembles. So there is more to faith. And that is the only thing that the devil do not have. The zeal for God. Devil do not have that. Actually, that is the real ingredient that you and I need in order to say, yes, I believe in God. Zeal is an opposite of apathy. Zeal. It's what it takes to be a true believer. Zeal is a passion, is a fire ignited in the heart of someone who believes. And until you have that fire in you, living a Christian life will feel like an obligation. Until you have that fire, the fire burning in you is the only thing that will be able to carry you through the obstacles and ups and downs that will come against you as a result of what you believe. Are you able to survive? Until we have that fire that Jesus talks about this morning. I wish that that fire is already burning. It's not enough to say I am a Catholic, but I lack the fire. It's not enough to say that I go to church, but that fire is not in me. If all I feel is apathy, apathy comes in the form of lukewarmness. I do not wake up this morning feeling that pull to come in the presence of God. Because that pull comes like a joy. There is a joy that fills your heart each time anything about God is being mentioned. You feel that pull in you. You can't even withhold it. And that was the fire that Jeremiah, in Jeremiah 20, said, I can feel a fire in my bone. I could not contend it. So Jeremiah is one of the most powerful prophets in the Old Testament. The fire that made it impossible for him to give up. Even in the midst of trouble, Jeremiah stood the ground because there is a fire burning in his bone. There is a fire. Not even obstacle could stop Jeremiah. Jeremiah became unstoppable because of the fire of God burning morning and night, every time. Even when they conspire, like we see in the first reading today, it doesn't matter. Because there is a pool of God. And that is what the second reading talks about. That you may feel that fire to run the race that has been placed in front of you and I. The rule of the race is this. It's not enough to begin the race, but to complete the race. That is the rule. And unless you and I run the race and run it according to the rule to the end, then there is no prize. And it's only the fire of God. When you feel that fire and you become unstoppable, nothing stops you. Because you know, like Jesus did, because of the prize and the joy that was laid before him, he deferred not even the death. Nothing could stop Jesus, because the fire of God's love was burning day and night in his heart. And he was able to endure everything because he saw the glory that was laid in front of him. The fire burning. So it's not just enough to say, well, I have been going through this journey of, being a Catholic of a very long time. It's not about a very long time. It's about whether you run the race to the end. And that is what we are being admonished this morning. Run the race in order to get to the end. There must be a focus to get to the end of the race. And the rule of the race says, if you run and stop in the middle, everything that you have run will be forgotten. That's the rule of the race. I did not make it up. Go and read the Bible. Ezekiel said, if a good man start doing good and following the Lord, and at some point stopped, everything that he has done good will be forgotten. That's the rule of the race. For those who said, well, I used to be in all the ministries. I used to do all A, Y, and Z. And the question is, what are you doing now? The rule of the race says, you do not feel old in the heart. So I've seen a lot of people, even in their advanced age. Let me not use old people, because for these people, they do not feel old, because in their hearts, they still feel young. I see a man, even in our midst, he's 86 years old, and he told me, Father, I have saved for 50 good years in ministry, and I'm still 7, and I'm not going to give up. I do not plan to give up, because I understand the rule of the race. I will run to the end. So at 86, he still feels young. And you see a young man of 20 years already feeling old. Is not that an irony? 86. Feel young because the heart is filled with fire. And a young woman who has no fire, already exhausted, and about to quit. And that's what Jesus says this morning, the fire that I will put in you will differentiate you from others. So the division that Jesus is talking is not a warfare. He's talking about how to differentiate those who have the fire and those who do not have the fire. Catholics who are passive, who just only go to Mass because they feel there is a sense of obligation to go to Mass. And Catholics who have the fire and the joy, because the joy of the Lord is your strength. That joy is contagious. When you have the fire, you pass the fire to other people, because that's the rule of the fire. When you do not have the fire, you complain every time. You only see what is not going well and not willing to do anything to make it better. And that's the fire that Jesus says, the fire that I want to cast is the fire that differentiates true believers from those who have not really made a decision to follow. When you have the fire of God in you, there is that commitment. There is a commitment. You understand the word commitment. Because you wake up every morning and you say, God, cast that fire upon my heart this morning. That all I would desire today is to serve you and the kingdom. Serve you and my neighbor. Serve you and whoever that you will put in front of me. I want to be truly your child. And in serving, you receive blessings. Many of us think that the way we receive things from God is going directly and say, God, I need A, Y, and Z. I need bread. I need sandwich. You count all your problems. That's not the secret. The secret of receiving is when that fire is cast upon your heart and you are willing to give yourself into the service of God. And in that service, that is where God encounters you. In that service, that is where God releases blessing. In that service, that is where God uplifts you, because that is the rule of the game. When you pour out, God refills in. That's the rule of the game. That's what Jesus says today. I wish that fire is burning. The fire that divides those who have made up their mind to serve God no matter what. And those who are afraid to say yes. Because I'm afraid if I say yes, now God is going to ask me more. If these people who are singing in the choir every day, I hope they made that commitment, and as we see the kind of commitment they put, it goes with sacrifice. They come a little bit earlier in order to sing, in order to make this service wonderful. And somebody says, well, I wish the choir at St. Albert can sing more. Then they go to another place where they feel they will get more better songs. The fire would have said, if I add one more number to them, we will get to where we are going. But for them, they sing regardless. They keep singing because they know that this is God who has cast a fire upon their hearts. And they want to sing for the glory of God. And they want to do it willingly, joyfully. And many of us do not know that we have the best choir director in the whole Houston, Galveston area. Teresa Den. And some of you said, well, I don't know how to sing. Teresa then says, worry not. Because she can see the hand of God beyond your voice. And God can do all things. Right? So those of you who have been feeling, I want to be part of fire, but I can't sing. Stop worrying and say yes to God, and God will cast the fire on your heart, and you will sing like the angels. God does not choose the perfect, but those who chose, he perfects along the way. And fear says, no, I'm not good enough. But God says, there is something in you I see that you cannot see. And until you say yes, can those things come to perfection. And this weekend is a weekend of still worship. The fire to serve. Once again, as a parish, we come together to say, God, let your will be done. What are you asking of me? It's a time to ask yourself, is there anything I can do more? Because God can surprise me beyond what even I can do. And this weekend we are being challenged. Again, stop and see the difference you are making. What difference are you willing to make here at St. Albert? What difference can you make in order to be part of those builders for the kingdom of God? What is it that you want to do differently? What are you going to do stepping up, moving forward to say, I want to be the change that I desire for this parish? And that's what we do this weekend. After this Mass, so all of us, we go to the parish center, at least to look around and pray and say, God, what is it that you are putting in front of me? And one thing I know, in this church, everywhere I have been to, Even if God say it from heaven, even Jesus coming right now, standing upon this altar and said, after this mass, I want all of you to go to Paris Center, there will still be a lot of people who will still go their own way and say, well, that was not for me. And that's the division. The difference is made clear. Those who listen when you hear the word of God and you are willing to take the next step. We are not asking you today to commit, but we are asking you today, stop. And those of you who have said for a very long time, that could also be a time to go over there and give a testimony. And said, it pays to serve. Never be afraid to receive that fire. So that fire Jesus is talking about this morning. As I asked you at the beginning of this mass, I said, how do you feel? I wasn't asking you whether the headache you had last night disappeared this morning. All I'm asking is, do you feel that passion in your heart? Do you feel that passion to say yes to God, even when you don't know where God is leading you? But only one thing you know, that God knows the way. You don't have to know the way in order to say yes. All you have to do is say yes. And the owner of the way, the one who is the way himself, will lead you through. My prayer for all of us in this parish this morning is that fire that Jesus wants to set may burn in each and every one of us heart. Let that fire burn out every apathy, every indifference to God's kingdom. Let that fire revive once again each and every one of us to say, yes, Lord, I am willing to allow you to lead me into service. There are a lot to be done in this parish. We have ministries, those who do the hospitality, those who read, those who sing, the altar servers, whatever. Don't say, I am not good enough. If God says there is good in you, why do you say otherwise? I repeat. If God says he sees a good that can be used in you, why do you say that is a lie? Can God lie? He sees everything.